From Insipidly Vapid Productions, this is Going In Blind. I'm Morgan Jenkins, and welcome to episode 7 of Going In Blind, a tabletop group of vision-impaired players who sit down at a table, roll a few dice, and together tell a story. Come for the adventure, stay for the mind flayers.
Previously on Going In Blind. Gallic, the dwarven cleric, and Linka the Momentous, a halfling sorcerer, escaped from Neverwinter's prison with a dwarven businessman called Gundren Rockseeker. In thanks, Gundren told them he had a way out of the city and to meet him at the Driftwood Tavern before dawn, for once dawn broke, carts were no longer allowed on the Neverwinter city streets. Gallic and Linka convinced Bell, the son of a local butcher, to let them tag along on his cart down Protector's Road. On the road, they learned that the tavern was on Coriel Street, came across a coughing man in rags, a ranting fisherman with an armband, the goats on Bell's cart escaped, including Daisy, who may still be on a roof somewhere, and they were questioned by guards. Now, with the location of the tavern firmly in their minds, will Gallic and Linka make it to the tavern in time? Will they make it out of the city? Find out in the second half of our escape from Neverwinter in Going In Blind.
Episode 7, The Driftwood Tavern.
The thick smell of burnt wood and canvas hangs over this section of the city of Neverwinter. Parts of the marketplace still stand in the grey light, saluting the air like some charred, half-buried skeleton. Standing in front of a butcher's window by the side of a cart, back from the carnage they helped wrought, Gallic and Linka survey the scene from the end of Protector's Road. Remnants of a futile bucket chain wend their way from the bleak reminder back towards Neverwinter River. Buckets, wooden slats with steel bands around them, lie strewn and shattered in the dust, quickly turning to mud in the morning drizzle.
We're off. Yep. Off we go. Do you want to walk ahead of me? And we're not together. Yeah, I can definitely walk ahead. I'll meet you at the tavern. Yep.
Very good. That's very good, especially considering that 2 more guards around the corner just as you start to make your way towards the bottom end of Coriel Street, and they take a moment to look at you. I guess they check and see how suspicious you look, although you're not travelling together, which is good, so that'll give you advantage on how suspicious you look.
Strictly speaking, it should have been a +2 to their roll or some such, but I went with advantage. But what is advantage? Well, normally, when a player has a skill check or an attack roll, they roll a single d20, that's a 20-sided dice, and that gets measured against a static DC or difficulty class, or the opposing skill, ability, armor class of the person or creature they're facing. In 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, there are certain situations where you can gain advantage or disadvantage. For instance, saving throws against poison have advantage if you're a dwarf, but wearing armor you're not proficient in gives you disadvantage to a basic melee attack. If you have advantage, you roll 2 d20s instead of just 1, and then use the higher of the 2 as the score on top of which you add your modifiers. Disadvantage, you roll 2 d20s and have to take the lower of the 2 scores. So if you're hidden and jump out at an enemy, you roll a 3 and a 15, and you'd take the 15 as your score and forget the 3. But if you try to swing your sword while underwater and roll a 20 and a 14, you'd have to take the 14, and you don't get that critical hit.
But we'll get you to roll basically a deception check, which is using your charisma. So if you could both roll for me, we'll do you first, Maddie. If you could roll 2 d20s.
Okay.
You need a second one.
Thank you.
There's one there. So 2 d20s. So you've got a 6 and a 9,
Okay.
and what you do is you take the best roll, which is a 9,
Okay.
because you have advantage, because you chose to split up. And in this instance, that assists. Now, Kat, if you could do the same for Linka.
10.
You got a 10.
I also have a +1 on the deception
Yes, you do.
thingy.
11 and 16. Oh, very good. So yes, they got a 6 versus the 11 and the 16. They noticed nothing untowards. You're both very good at acting nonchalant as you stroll down the street in the morning light. Very good, and it is still pre-dawn.
Using the directions given them by Bell, left at the end of Protector's Road, past the marketplace, then sharp left onto Coriel Street, Gallic stops in front of the tavern, Linka bumping into her as she catches up. There are many taverns made famous by the great poets and songwriters of Faerun. Volo spoke fondly of the Belching Dragon Tavern, although that may have been because weary travellers visiting found nothing to do there but buy him drink and hear him talk. Its sign was of a great red beast wrought in iron, the flames from its mouth seeming to glow red. Minor sorcery, no doubt. Less fondly, but just as mentioned, is the Tankard Tree, deriving its name from a large tankard that has supposedly been thrown at Volo's head by the proprietor, stopping short of braining the man and growing roots where it fell. Everyone knows the Moonstone Mask as the tavern that survived the Spell Plague. These are taverns where great deeds are remembered or enacted, the resting houses of great and terrible figures throughout Faerun's history. The Driftwood Tavern is not such a place. Within moments of spotting it, Gallic knows this is the Driftwood Tavern, a small place wedged between buildings either side.
And you can tell it's the Driftwood Tavern because where a sign would normally hang above the door that would say the name of the tavern, the Prancing Pony would have an image of a pony, or the Golden Carrot would have an image of a carrot that is no longer golden because someone's stolen all the gold off it, even though it was literally just yellow paint. They're not smart. They're thieves. And so, in this instance, it's just an old piece of saltwater-worn driftwood, just hanging above the door. So you've walked up to the door, you tried the handle, didn't work. Did you do anything else, or you just...
I knocked, yeah.
You knocked?
Yeah, shit.
Ah! Okay.
Come on, I want a drink.
Alrighty.
I know it's early, but come on.
So you hear noise from inside, and you hear an old woman's voice, and I apologise in advance because I don't sound like an old woman, so I'm not even going to try. So just when you hear me say these words, assume that it sounds like an old woman. I don't know what that sounds like, maybe like Mrs. Doubtfire or something. Oh, dearie! Something. But,
Linka steps up to the stout oak door. From behind the door come sounds of movement, followed by a muffled voice.
We're
closed, you clots. We open mid-morning. Before that, we only opened for one person, and I doubt you're him.
Well, I'm definitely not him, I'm at her.
Well, there you have it. Be on your way.
Come on, I want a drink. Friend told me to meet him here. Best place in the land, he said.
There is a pause from behind the door.
What's the name of this friend?
I hope you remember, because my brain's gonna...
Yes, no, his name was Gundren.
No, alright, okay. Gundren.
Gondron?
Yeah, short bloke.
There is a sound of a bolt being drawn, and the door creaks open on dry hinges. Standing in the doorway is a short, fierce-looking, older human woman, her silvery hair tied back in a businesslike bun, hands patting down the apron hung over a sunny, if slightly faded, yellow dress. She looks over our party with alert eyes.
You're friends of Gundren Rockseeker?
Yes, yes we are.
In an instant, her demeanour changes from protector to one almost conspiratorial as she beckons towards our players and ushers them in.
Quickly, come in. In.
She closes the door behind them, and Gallic and Linka find themselves in a well-lit tap room. At some point in the past, this establishment has done well enough that they've bought the surrounding two buildings and knocked down a few walls, expanding to be much roomier and homelier than one would have guessed. At least, you'd hope they bought the buildings.
Are you the cart drivers? Or are you going on ahead?
Oh, we're meant to be on the cart, so...
Ah! Fantastic.
Ooh, I have to roll this.
If you can remember back to the end of episode 4, I think it was, there were 3 roads described and a stack of stair-like boxes. Because our players chose to ride in the cart, and not by hiding in it but by charming Belle, they automatically went down Protector's Road, the central choice. If they'd chosen to try climbing the boxes onto the roof and made it to the tavern that way, when they got there, Gundren would be waiting for them. If they took one of the 3 roads, which they did, the DM, me, gets to now roll 1d20. If I rolled 15 or above, Gundren beats the players there. 14 and below, they arrive before he does.
You bet him there. So she says, fantastic.
Fantastic. He hasn't arrived yet.
Time for a drink then.
Of course. Do try to remember to drive sober, though.
Well, that'll be you. Fine.
Lovely. And so you have a drink. It's on the house.
Oh, thank you.
She's very, very keen to be as helpful as possible. And you gather that she's probably going to get something out of it. Whatever this thing is that Gundren's doing.
Setting herself up behind the bar and pouring out 2 drinks, a glass of water for the dwarf and a pint of dark draught from a bottle with SDD on the label for the halfling, the older woman introduces herself as the owner of the Driftwood Tavern, Madame Rosine.
So as you have your drink, waiting for Gundren, you chat to Madame Rosine, and she says, So what
part do you have to play in his mad scheme?
Whatever part takes his fancy, I guess.
Ah.
She turns to Gallic.
And you?
Same again. We're there to help. Just along for the ride.
Ah. Do you know what he's found?
Well, we don't know the details.
See, neither do I. He said it was something big. Him and his brothers found something down south. He was going to pay me and mine 10 gold pieces for escorting him and his supplies out of the city. Then he vanished. Haven't heard hide nor hair of him in a few days. Then he comes in here earlier this morning, says he's got some people coming and they're going to deal with the carts. But first, he has to go get it from where he's hid it.
Well, we met him when he was missing.
Where did you meet him?
You'd probably rather not know, honestly. Yeah. It's probably better you don't know.
Rosine gives a knowing wink. Gallic is fairly sure she knows where our heroes met Gundren and understands how they got there as well. She's lived long enough in the city to know Braxos and his kind.
So as you talk to her, you hear the sound of a cart being pulled up out the front, and then Gundren runs in through the front door. He's clearly got a key to the place. He knows it well. And he's,
good, you made it. The streets are crawling with guards.
And goats.
Goats.
That's all fixed up. It's sorted.
Very well. Well, I brought the goods Braxis tried to seize. I need them taken out of the city, to Phandalin, a few days south of Neverwinter. I can pay you 10 gold pieces each if you take it down there.
Each? What do you mean each? You're only going to pay me 10.
Of course each. You're only one person, and a human at that.
Bah. Oh, of course, because I come in here and...
Rosine mutters and walks off to the other end of the bar, polishing it with her apron.
He says, in order to not raise suspicion, and just ignore the D20s I'm rolling in the corner here. They mean nothing, I promise.
Sure.
The D20s were for random guard door-to-door checks that were going on in and about the city. I rolled poorly.
He says, I in order to allay suspicion, I'm going to take
a horse and ride on ahead with a friend of mine, fellow by the name of Sildar. We'll go first, make sure the deal is still on for the goods. They're looking for 4 escapees, so that should keep us out of suspicion. Then you go through after us with the wagon. But soon, don't wait too long, because after dawn, the curfew comes into effect. Go to...
He says, forgetting the name of the street you're on.
Starts with a C.
It does start with a C, I know that much. Coriel, thank you.
Go to the Coriel Street gate, right across from where we are here. It's the quickest and easiest way out of here. Well, the Sleeping Dragon gate's normally the easiest, but they've upped the guards on it after certain events. So just wait a fourth of a face, then follow me out. Get through the gate, and I'll meet you in Phandalin in a few days' time.
What's in the cart? How are we getting it out if they ask?
Gallic raises a questioning eyebrow at Linka.
Because if he's trying to steal it once, who's to say they won't stop us again?
All that's in the cart is basic provisions I'm taking to the settlement, to sell for what I need when we get there. The reason it was almost taken from me was because of something else I have that I've left in Phandalin. Braxis doesn't know I've done that.
As he says this, Gundren unconsciously strokes a cylindrical map case hanging at his belt, unseen by Gallic or Linka.
No, that's fine with us then. After you, we'll have another quick drink and we'll head out. Or I'll have another quick drink.
Gundren nods to both of them. Walking over to Madame Rosine, he hands her a few gold pieces, thanking her for her trouble, which she brushes off.
Yes, and then off he goes, calling out to someone as he heads out the front door. And you can see through the front door, just as it shuts behind him, there's a cart tethered out the front with 2 big oxen driving it at the front. And so you wait 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably enough time.
Alright, okay then. I finish my drink. I give her a couple of the silver that we'd been paid.
Yep.
Thank you for your troubles. And we head out towards the cart. Yep. Hopefully we'll see you again.
And you paid her some of the silver?
Yes.
Making notes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is how you find yourself heading towards the gate. Just as dawn is breaking.
Far less splendid than the Sleeping Dragon Gate to the north, the Coriel Street Gate is small and simple, manned by 2 bored and familiar guards.
Whoa there! Where are you 2 off to again?
I've had a few drinks, I hope she's remembered. It's Fandalor or something.
Ah,
I can't say
Fandalin.
that.
Do be careful down that way. There are many ruffians and bandits lurking along that trail.
Thank you for your warning.
What are you taking there?
Oh, just supplies.
Have you checked them recently?
Yeah, I've loaded up the cart. Checked them before we left.
He seems happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, because I don't think you did check them before you left.
Of course not, we took the dog's word for it.
And so,
The guard waves the wagon on, with Gallic and Linka at its helm. The 2 large ox pull them through the Coriel Street Gate, out of the eastern side of the city, the horizon in front of them glowing with the newly rising sun. Gallic and Linka share a sigh of relief. They have escaped the prison, escaped the peninsula, and escaped the city. As they settle in for the long journey to come, ahead of them the road turns to the south, towards Phandalin, and towards, finally, safety. But are our heroes safe? What dangers await them on the road to Phandalin?
Find out next time, perhaps, in Waylaid.
Episode 8 of Going in Blind.
In episode 7 of Going in Blind, Bowden Shaw played the first guard, Kat Leonard was the second guard and Madame Rosine, Morgan Jenkins was Gundren Rockseeker, and the narrator was Harry Kalayuru. Our theme music for Season 1 is Crusade by Kevin MacLeod. Our previously on music is Black Vortex, also by Kevin MacLeod. To find out more about his music, head to www.incompetech.com/music/royalty-free. In-episode music and sound effects from Syrinscape, a sound design app for PC, Mac, Android and iDevices specifically made for tabletop gaming that is easy to integrate into your games and ups the immersion exponentially. Check them out at Syrinscape.com. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, and if you have a moment, please rate us and comment. Don't forget to share us with friends or enemies. We don't discriminate. You can also find us on Stitcher and YouTube if you prefer. You can get in touch with us through our email, goinginblindpodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @goinginblinddnd, Facebook/goinginblinddnd, or visit our website, goinginblindpodcast.com, to check out past episodes, our custom character sheets, the modules we're running, notes on the games, ramblings from our DM, and much more. Going in Blind game sessions are recorded at Vision Australia Kooyong. Going in Blind is edited and produced by me, Morgan Jenkins, and is an insipidly vapid production.